In this video, I want to cover the importance of getting a pre-purchase inspection before you buy a 10 to 15-year-old Mercedes-Benz. You know, this is a very important topic. It's kind of lengthy, so I feel I should sit down as I carry on with this lecture. Oh no, sorry about that. You're probably wondering why I'm sitting in this chair, and if you noticed it kind of collapsed on me. Well, there's a very important lesson that I'm going to share with you. In fact, I almost hate to even tell you this story because it's a little bit embarrassing. But there's a couple things that are really important. By pre-purchase inspection, I mean taking it to someone who is knowledgeable about the car, who can get it up on the lift and go around and then check it over. You're going to think, well, I don't want to spend money for that. That's expensive. That's going to cost me a couple $100 and I don't even know if I'm going to buy the car. Well, we'll get into that a little bit more later. But it also does one other thing that's really important, is it can take some of the emotion out of the equation. You know, I've purchased hundreds of cars in my day, and I've made some mistakes, and the mistakes are usually directly proportional to how excited I get about seeing the car. And you know, we all want a good deal, so we rush out there, we see this great old car, and the price is unbelievable, and we're so excited it's like we have blinders on. And I've done this, and you go out, you buy the car, and then you get it home and you go, oh no, there's rust in the floor. If you saw one of my other videos from my friend who bought that 240D that had rust holes in the floor, he didn't even notice that because he was so excited. He was buying this from a lady owner. He thought it was going to be a really nice car, and he was so excited about the price of this 240D that he bought it. And it wasn't until he got it home that he saw, wow, this thing's a rusty heap here. Well, guess what happened with this chair? You know, our neighbor was having a garage sale a couple weeks ago, and I went over, stopped in, chatted with him, and I saw this office chair sitting back in the corner, and I said, wow, I could use this out at the shop. And he had a $10 price tag on it. And I thought, would you take $5? And he says, sure, you can have it for $5. And I was so excited about getting a good, comfortable office chair for $5 that I did not do a pre-purchase inspection. I didn't even check it out. And of course, I hauled it out to the shop here, and guess what? The hydraulic strut is shot. It just sags down every time I sit in it. So I'll probably end up just throwing it away. So you see the point I'm trying to make there? Try to control your emotion. Don't get too excited. If you have to, bring a friend along, at least who can get a second set of eyes on the car you're checking over. But more importantly, a professional pre-purchase inspection will take almost all of the emotion out of the equation. Now there's another advantage to doing this. I mentioned earlier it may cost, you know, a couple of $100, but almost every time I have done that, I've gotten my money back, because almost every pre-purchase inspection is going to show some type of problem with the car, and the mechanic can come back with a list, and you can take that to the owner and say, look, we found there's about $800 worth of work that needs to be done on the car. What do you think if we split it? And a lot of times the seller will say, yeah, you're right, you know, that's not fair. And you can't expect them to pay for all the repairs because it is a used car. And many times you'll get the money back from the pre-purchase inspection in a reduced price from the seller. Now, can you imagine going to the seller and say, hey, I see all these problems with your car, you know, I'm going to give you $1,000 less. That usually doesn't work. That usually can be very offensive. And because you're the buyer, you have a, you know, conflicting interest in getting it for a cheap price. Where if the seller sees a report from a mechanic listing the problems with the car, he's much more likely to accept that than you just walking around the car and say, hey, your car has a bunch of problems. I'll give you $1,000 less for the car. So I cannot stress this enough. When you go out to look at one of these 10 to 15-year-old Mercedes, after it passes your visual inspection, then get a pre-purchase inspection. If you don't, you're going to regret it. Now, I have two examples here. This car had a pre-purchase inspection, and this car didn't. So, in future on-demand videos that will be available on my website, we'll go through some of the repairs that we're going to have to do to these two cars, and you'll get to see firsthand the difference